Welcome to the NFL Big Match Preview brought to you by NFL Insight. I'm Andy Richmond, and over the next 10 minutes or so I'll be taking an in-depth look at the Denver Broncos' visit to the Kansas City Chiefs at Arrowhead Stadium in a contest that could well decide the destination of the AFC West Division this year. We'll cover the betting markets, reflect on some of the previous games between the two teams and their season so far, and most importantly take a look at some of the important tactical facets within the game before we round out the preview with a small sample of our live match trading statistics, which form the basis of a lot of our decisions and strategies on Sunday night when we'll trade this game live in our trading room. First of all, we can look at how the odds on the contest are being assessed and compare them with the NFL Insight Master Tissue price, which we produce for each and every NFL game that is played to allow you to have an original and authentic tissue in your hands to judge the true price in the marketplace. All of these prices are available via our trading sheets, and you can compare a real price based on hundreds of similar games with what you're being offered in the marketplace. In effect, your own tissue in your hands, and they should prove incredibly useful if you're betting or trading on the games. You can see here the Broncos 1.57 with the majority of the bookmakers. We make them about the same price. There's not much disparity in these two prices. You can also see on these sheets that we produce prices for the first points, how the first points are scored via touchdowns or field goals. And if you're looking around in the market for the Broncos to score that their first points with a touchdown, you should be looking for a price of around just about 2-1. If you can't get that, there's not much value in the market. Likewise, the first points from a field goal for the Broncos or the Chiefs should be around a 4-1 chance. So that's just giving you an idea of where those prices should be in the market. Now, we've started to use matchbook prices for our pre-game trading and assessments. I'd urge you to give them a try as an alternative to the fixed odds firms like BetDAQ and BetDAQ and Betfair, the other two exchanges. They have good liquidity available and cover the NFL fully with a large range of markets. Let's see what the prices are on Matchbook for the Denver Broncos and the Kansas City Chiefs games. You can see there the Denver Broncos even shorter, 1.44, with a big move towards them this week despite losing last week. Of course, Kansas coming off the back of 2 defeats out of their bye week as well, and despite being at home, it's the Denver Broncos who are the favourites. They've got to give away 4.5 points to bring these two teams almost level on the handicap. Within the points market, well, the over and under set at 48.5. Just looking at past contests between these two, they've tended to be a little bit tight. I'd err on the side of just on the unders there. It's not favourites, but I just think at this time the two sides just not quite function as well as they were earlier in the season. Now let's reflect on some of the past meetings between the sides. The Kansas City Chiefs lead the series between these two teams 56-51, but they have lost the last 3 contests to the Broncos. Kansas City, in fact, have not scored more than 17 points against Denver in the last 6 meetings, so they are struggling to put points on the board against the Broncos. Now the Broncos 9-2, well, they're top of the AFC West despite their stunning overtime loss to the Patriots last week, when I think they were 24 points behind at one time and lost it in overtime. Not sure how that's going to affect them mentally this week. The Chiefs, well, they were 9-0 at one stage. The last 2 games coming out of their bye week, they've lost those. One, of course, was to the Broncos, and at the moment in this head-to-head in the division, it's the Broncos who hold the tie break with that win over the Chiefs. Now let's move on and look at 5 facets of the game for each team that could well be vital in deciding how this plays out. We'll take a look at the Broncos first, and interim head coach Jack Del Rio has called turnovers the team's kryptonite on Monday in a team meeting. The Broncos have done a better job of protecting Peyton Manning in recent weeks, but he's still fumbled twice, both recovered, I should add, against the Patriots. And over the past 2 weeks, Manning has been sacked only twice and hit 4 times. They can live with those fumbles brought on by an opposing pass rush. What they cannot accept is fumbles from their running backs. Monty Ball fumbled against the Patriots. That's his 3rd lost fumble this year. And the other backs have had their problems also. If they keep losing the football in such a manner, it will come back and hurt them down the line. Ball security is key for them, and fumbles can often change the momentum in the game. On defence, the team has to get better at covering tight ends. They struggle every week covering that position in space, regardless of the calibre of the opponent. Rob Gronkowski of the Patriots was able to torch the Broncos defence on Sunday night. He finished the game with 7 catches for 90 yards and 1 touchdown. And in the previous week, Kansas City's tight ends Anthony Fasano and Sean McGrath combined for 6 catches for 77 yards and 1 touchdown. Could be an important facet of the game. I'd urge you to certainly have a look at Fasano in player markets from that tight end position. Better play from their linebackers is necessary to improve coverage in the middle of the field. Now, Wesley Woodyard and Danny Trevathan are both athletic linebackers who can fly to the ball. However, both are known to get out of position at times when asked to cover tight ends. It's a constant problem for the Broncos, and a problem that opponents game plan to exploit each and every week. What many people may forget, due to Peyton Manning's amazing start to the 2013 season, that he is a 37-year-old quarterback who has had several neck surgeries over the last few years. Following the Broncos' loss to the Baltimore Ravens in last year's divisional playoff round, much was made of Manning's struggles to throw the deep ball, along with his decision to wear a glove on his throwing hand for the first time in his career during the 2012 season. Now, it may not be that cold in Kansas on Sunday. Around 47 Fahrenheit is predicted. I'm just wondering if Manning is starting to show signs of wear and tear, and the point about cold weather might be more applicable in the playoffs, but he is struggling to throw those deep balls that have become a feature of the games for Denver earlier in the season in warmer weather. It's just a situation to be aware of in the future, and I'll be watching to see if Manning bounces back this week from that disappointing outing against the Patriots in that cold weather. Now, Manning is undoubtedly an asset for Denver, but next to him, the one player that can really make the Broncos tick is their running back, Sean Moreno. It was Moreno and not Manning who helped the Broncos dominate the Patriots for the first 30 minutes of the game last week. That contribution will be overshadowed by the subsequent comeback for the Patriots, but Moreno is very much the go-to guy that can keep the chains moving for Denver. He's only fumbled the ball once this year, which, given the turnover woes of the past, is a positive to Denver. Moreno suffered an ankle injury against the Patriots and he wasn't able to go on Sunday. It will be a big loss for the Broncos. In a story of two halves on Sunday, Denver's defence could do no wrong in the first half. The defence forced 3 turnovers, pressurised Patriots quarterback Tom Brady relentlessly, and shut out the Patriots offence during the first 30 minutes of the game. And then the second half happened. Suddenly, the dominant defence that had made Brady and the Patriots offence look ordinary fell apart in the second half when cornerback Dominic Rodgers-Cromartie was sidelined due to injury on the last play of the first half. Through the first 2 quarters, Brady was markedly down. He threw 10 of 17 for 81 yards passing, including 2 fumbles and 3 sacks. During the second half, he threw for 263 yards and completed 24 of 33 passes. 0 fumbles, 0 sacks. Denver's offence didn't help its defence with its inability to move the chains, and Rodgers-Cromartie's injuries transformed the Broncos' defence from a dominant one into a lacklustre one. That's simply not a good sign, and possibly it's been hiding away the fact that this defence is conceding 32.1 points per game. That factor has been masked by their high-octane offence and the "will score points to new" mentality. Now we can take a look at the Chiefs side that needs to bounce back, having not conceded more than 17 points all year, and has now been hit for 27 by Denver 22 weeks ago, and blitzed for 41 by the Chargers last week. Now, some of those struggles can be attributed against the Chargers at least, after its 2 top pass rushers, outside linebackers Tamba Hall and Justin Houston, both left the game with injuries. Both players were injured in the second quarter of that 41-38 loss last Sunday. Hall went down with an ankle injury on the first play of the second quarter, while Houston went down with an elbow injury with just 2 minutes left in the first half. The Chiefs were leading 14-3 when Houston was injured. The Chiefs' defence, which hadn't given up more than 27 points in a game all season, surrendered 31 points in the second half alone to the Chargers. Obviously, the loss of these 2 players made an impact, as Chargers quarterback Phillip Rivers finished the game 27 of 39 for 392 yards and 3 touchdowns. Without one or either back on Sunday, the Chiefs will be depleted on defence, and that could hurt them and their pass rush and their ability to put pressure on Peyton Manning. Now, talking of defence, the Kansas City Chiefs looked a lot like the 2000 Baltimore Ravens for an awful lot of the season, for their first 9 games in fact, but their much vaunted defence has disappeared over the last 2 weeks. Now, it can't have been helped by those injuries that I've just mentioned, and it only takes one bad play to erase a season's worth of production in the playoffs, so it shouldn't be too surprising that it only took 2 bad games to erase Kansas City's hot defensive start. NFL production in its simplest form is a combination of talent, technique and scheme put up against the same qualities of the opponent. All four of those areas have been a problem for the Chiefs over the last two games and have been reasons for their defensive collapse. It can't always be easy to predict who or when will get injured, and we don't know what's coming, but it will mean that their defensive depth on that side of their defensive depth will be tested on Sunday, with possibly without Hall and Houston, and that defence has just got a little bit of a question mark about it. I was often critical of Andy Reid's play calling and clock management when he was in Philadelphia, but those problems, and I use the word advisedly, don't appear to be evident in Kansas City as he plays with his new train set. Well, they weren't until now. In the contest with the Chargers, he called at least one strange timeout, and his lack of handoffs to running back Jamal Charles was mystifying to say the least. On the upside, I did like some of the creative plays that Reid called that aided his aerial attack, and hopefully that Chargers game was just a blip, but it's just something to keep an eye on, that maybe Reid has just started to lose a little bit of focus. I just spoke about Charles and the lack of opportunities that he got last Sunday, that despite humiliating the Chargers front seven by averaging 8.2 yards per carry. He gained 115 yards overall and just 14 carries, and it was mystifying why he wasn't used more. He might find it tougher going against the 5th ranked Broncos run D, but he did gain 78 yards against them two weeks ago on 16 carries, and maybe just maybe Reid will give him more work this week, which he certainly ought to. With the defence flagging slightly, and with the injuries, and many will now point to the Chiefs' increased offensive output last week and think it's now the offence that will carry this team, but not so fast. The Chiefs' offensive output was only possible because of terrible defence, not because it's all of a sudden become capable of carrying the team. It's a huge mistake to expect them to continue great offensive production over the final 5 weeks. As much as the Chiefs needed to open up the offensive game plan, no one was expecting them to score 38 points. Likewise, no one should expect them to routinely score over 30 points when they average just 23 over the first 10 games. Offences do not improve that much overnight. It's going to be a rocky 5 final games for the Chiefs, but their struggles may end up helping the team in January when it gets even harder to win games. Quarterback Alex Smith has made some big throws the last 2 weeks, and the offence was, for all my concerns about it, impressive against the Chargers. Just don't expect them to start carrying the team. Now, I mentioned at the top of the show our exclusive trading stat sheets, and these have lots of information about how teams have responded in certain situations before and how often they go on to win games in certain situations. These act as a great guideline and give you a price to compare with what is an offer from the bookmakers during the in-play market. Here you can see what the true prices should be in the following situations or at half time, and we also take a look by comparing games of a similar nature, how likely such situations are to happen throughout the game. In our live trading room on Sunday night, we have the ability to predict a live tissue price and how likely statistically certain outcomes are to happen. And we just look so we can have almost a moving tissue within the game, and it gives us a great way of comparing prices with what's on offer with what we actually think the price should be at that time and making the decisions from there. Here we can see the percentage chances each side would hold with these winning margins in the game. So you can see if they're leading by 7 points at half time, Kansas City traditionally in games of this nature have a 64% chance of going on to win the game, while Denver have a better chance of converting with an 81% chance of winning on the game. What we also calculate is the chance of sides dashing out into a particular lead as well, of leading maybe 14 or 10-0, and here you can see the chances of a 14-0 lead. So if you're dealing with margin markets in the game, there you can have a look at those, and we can also look at the chance of sides, how they lead with points, leading by a certain number of points in a quarter as well. All of this data gives you a really good idea of the ebbs and flows within a market and how it should be priced at any moment and situation within the game. Now, these statistics are a small taster of the profusion of data that we have available in our trading sheets, which are exclusive to NFL Insight and via the live updates that are available in our trading room, which we run on Sunday nights. They make us able to assess match situations and the odds at an instant. Now, these match previews that I hope you're enjoying watching are just a small part of what we do here at NFL Insight. So if you like them, well, make sure you come back and subscribe to the NFL Insight TV channel via YouTube for all our latest previews. I'll certainly be back with further match previews on all the big games in the NFL. And if you like the other things that we do here, we can also check our betting focus previews, which are always available for the big games at the weekend via our website at www.betting-insight.com, where we take a look at the best betting opportunities in the game once we have taken into account all the tactical factors in this preview. Come and get involved with us at NFL Insight for all your NFL previews, statistics, trading views and betting advice. NFL Insight is at the forefront of a new way of looking at and betting on the NFL. I've been Andy Richmond. Thank you for watching this preview from NFL Insight.